welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted. I'm Ross Aiken. I'm Old Who.
And surprise, surprise, it's an episode about the Ghost Monument, so I'm here.
Yes. We're going to do, this is, because, The Ghost Monument, Episode 11.2. Writer, Chris Chibnall. Director, Mark Tunderai. Producer, Alec Mercer. Executive producer, Chris Chibnall. This episode aired October 14th, 2018. Stranded on an alien planet infamously called Desolation, can the Doctor find her way to the TARDIS as she promised her new friends? Will the newest company be of any help when they are out racing against each other? And what exactly is the Ghost Monument? That little synopsis is from the Doctor Who fandom wiki. We've got a new Doctor, and Jodie's era has ended, so I've added her to the rotation, so we're going to be revisiting all these episodes. And, of course, I had to have Jess on for Ghost Monument for a lot of reasons. One, I know it's one of his favorite episodes of Doctor Who ever, and I cannot argue with that because we both will have a soft spot for it. Well, I'll start with you, Jeff. Initially, when you saw it, you loved this from the get-go, right? You just...
Yeah, it was love at first sight, and it was love not just at the sight of it, which is stunning. It just looks on a whole other level. But the bit that sold me was I don't know what it is. There's that scene where they're on the boat, and you just get a long shot of the boat sailing down the water, and the music and the lighting and just the framing of it. I just went, oh, hang on a minute. Doctor Who really has just stepped up. This is we're in another location that's not a quarry in the UK or the streets of Cardiff or what have you. We're actually in another country, and it is very easy to then place yourself on another world, and it makes that buy-in that Doctor Who asks of its audience much, much easier for us to go, yeah, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree with you, because that's the one, that shot is the one where I went, oh, these are more cinematic, as best they can. There are times, you're in a set, you can tell it's a set, you know what I mean? But since they were in a place very different, they're in set, was this South Africa, right? This is one of the ones they shot, one of the 3 episodes they shot in South Africa. And that same shot just made me think of like Lawrence of Arabia, a Dr. Zhivago. It looked like David Lean where they're just shots. You can hear the dialogue maybe or not, and it's just creating setting. And I think the director of this one did a good job of creating setting in a cinematic, very cinematic way.
It's Mark Tunderai, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
And, Doctor Who always works well when it's giving other people an opportunity. This is only the second time in modern Doctor Who that we've heard music by someone other than Murray Gold.
Yeah, and I find it. But we had them in the old days. You'd have producers who like the ones they like, and they bring them on. I butcher his name. The
Saganakanola.
Yeah, he had to grow on me. I think sometimes in the season I would have liked his music to be a little louder, just a little bit. It's something. But I liked what he did with music. Like in the first episode where she falls through the roof and he hides the theme in it. In Spyfall, where you're listening, you're hearing the Doctor Who theme, but it sounds like the beginning of a Bond movie, that he altered it just enough. And just because his music really reminds me of early Doctor Who music.
Well, I was just going to say, it is the most radiophonic that Doctor Who music has been since the 80s, pretty much. Yeah. And because of that, it makes it feel for me at least, more authentically Doctor Who, the Doctor Who that I grew up with. And that's what I found with this, with the Ghost Monument, was I suddenly felt like I was watching a Doctor Who story from my childhood.
Oh yeah, this script's Keys of Moranis. This could be the plot of this story. You wouldn't have done, you'd have done it on a hill just outside, just in Cardiff, the Ghost Monument would be sitting on some foggy hill just outside Cardiff or something, and you'd be,
or Sheffield, because Sheffield is known for its hills, of course.
Oh yeah, but you see what I mean? I mean, you could have done this story on that.
Yes.
But it's like, this is what it like if you could have done something like Keys of Moranis or like Marco Polo with, like a film, because you would have had these big, take the time for the tracking shot. They bought all that new tech when Chibnall took over. They upgraded it, so they were using better cameras, and you could see it. And they were using, I mean, I think the Moffat era, which is in a high def, was shot pretty well when they were given the opportunity. But they would save it for certain stories. Okay, if we're going to go on location, just the old save money. But I think with Chibnall, like three of the episodes were shot in South Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
So you could because that's the Old South. That ain't. It looks a little like the Old South, but it definitely looked a little like South. It's like close, 50 South. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But
close,
but it just,
close enough.
Yeah, but the sand, the desert for the alien planet was, spot on. It all looked gorgeous. Even the sets, I thought the set design and the effects design are great. And I like that we have a small guest cast.
Yeah.
And because you got to build a relationship, you know what I mean? There's
exactly
that. Yeah, they become part of the team, of the fam by the end. All six of them are working together, and you actually like them. I think this is best for Jodie in some ways, that you get her not having a TARDIS until the end of this. I like that a great deal.
I mean, I wish that was something that had carried on a little bit longer
Even longer.
the series. But that said, this combined with The Woman Who Fell to Earth, where they get whisked away at the end purely by accident. And you know what? I want to go back to the cinematography a little bit first, because that opening shot where we see the starfield, and then we pan out and we realise we're seeing that in the reflection of Ryan's eye. That's other level stuff, and we see that a few times in the Chibnall era, where we get the pan into the Cyberman eye, and then we get the Doctor Who titles coming from that. This is also the first time we see those titles and hear the theme tune in its full effect. And it's
best title sequences of modern Who.
Absolutely 100%. It's evocative again of classic Doctor Who. It's Sega Nakanola built that theme tune specifically around and sort of on top of Delia Derbyshire's original version of the score, which is haunting and atmospheric, and would still stand up today, I think, as the Doctor Who theme.
It's so famous that even people who don't watch Doctor Who regularly in this country would recognize it. Yeah. It's been a Jeopardy question.
And you listen to Ron Grainer's original composition and how he thought that was going to sound.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
It's jaunty. It sounds of its time.
It's a little bouncier.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it sounds musical, and what Delia Derbyshire then did was went, oh, okay, I hear this in a completely different way. And then she went away and did mad scientist shit with razor blades and bits of tape, and made something truly haunting and unique. And Sega Nakanola captures that hauntingness of the theme, but with a modern tempo and a modern sensibility. You see, I didn't need to be sold on Sagan's music. I was sold in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, and it stole my heart straight away. And I was like, this is what I've been waiting for, because I'm not a huge fan. I don't want to say of Murray Gold, but of that style.
The John
Murray
Williams
Gold,
kind of style, because he's very John Williams.
Oh, well, I don't think he is very John Williams.
He
I
is.
think he's more, I don't know. Who's the guy who, Danny Elfman. He's got hints of Danny Elfman to
Yeah, I
him.
guess
And
the
he's
characters.
got thematic things that he likes to play on. Whereas Sagan's music is much more intangible and much less structured in a traditional form. And that's probably, we've talked recently about how music is important to me,
Yeah.
and in Doctor Who, and I like weird shit.
I'm with you on that, because I like Murray Gold. I sometimes he overwhelms me. Themes, he has certain themes or characters pieces that I love. Martha's theme is beautiful, is absolutely.
And that's not to say I haven't enjoyed his music in situ, but I wouldn't put on the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's not that I'm not a soundtrack listener. I could probably listen to this era, because that's what I like about original classic Who, especially in the 60s, is the weird shit. One of my favorite stories, I love that, because one thing is I love the music, is Sea Devils.
Yes, yeah.
That is imaginative. You are adding to the atmosphere. Music should enhance a scene. It may need to help. Sometimes it is needed to guide you, and the director I want to make the audience sadder. Okay? Can you help? And you do something. You're just pushing the emotion a bit. But it has to contribute to mood and atmosphere. And in Sea Devils, it's like that one. It's like the dun 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 in Jaws. You'd hear the music and go, "Oh, what's coming?" Yeah, get you ready for it.
I think a big impact on me was when I watched the Daleks for the first time and heard Tristram's Carey's sort of almost ambient score for it. It's really
like you
unique.
It's music, but it sounds like that would be the background noise in the city.
Exactly, yes. It's an ambiance, as they would say.
Yeah.
And Sagan Akinola is really hitting ambiance in that same way. But with a different cultural sensibility about music behind that as well, because of his roots and his origins and the things that he's scored before. He did a lot of I did a little bit of research, and he's done a lot of nature documentaries and documentaries about Africa and things. And so he scored a lot of them, and that comes through in his music and his understanding of music and what he's grown up with and soaked in. And that just suits Doctor Who's otherworldliness. And the Ghost Monument is all about otherworldliness. It just feels so alien. It feels like when I listen to Big Finish, it feels like the pictures I would conjure up in my imagination listening to a Big Finish story. And that was one of the things that made me instantly rewatch it. Was I was like, this feels very Big Finish to me, and I don't think everyone gets that same impression of it.
I can see what you're saying. I think we talked during all of our era that Chibnall went for a more simplistic, and I mean that in a good way, that he wanted to go back to, I'm not going to do all the heavy drama. I'm going to have drama, but I'm not going to focus whole stories around the companions and the Doctor. Yes, they're in the story, but let's tell a new story with these characters being involved. You know what I mean? Where it's like you're putting these characters in a different setting and see how that setting makes them interact. It's not how is it part of some big overall big bad. It's not building to some huge ending, especially in this season, because there is no huge ending. It's just a series of adventures with the Doctor and these three people, which I found great. But that's what I really like. This episode is that it could have been an original series. It definitely could have been Big Finish. You're right in a lot of ways, because some of the the monster, like the rags.
Yeah.
The rags that are the creatures. And rewatching it, I forgot there was stuff. I forgot the Stenza Teeth Faces people were the ones that had done harm to everybody. This was their planet. I forgot about the kidnapping thing, that they've kidnapped us and tortured us to make these weapons. Yeah, because the sets, I want to talk about the sets. I loved that underground set. It probably was something really basic and they just slapped shit on it. I don't know if they did that in studio or went to some warehouse.
It looks like that it's in a warehouse. I was trying to pay attention because I knew we were going to be talking about it. So when I watched it again, I was looking specifically at that set, and what it looks like is they built a much smaller set, but a very contained one within a much larger building. So I think that's in a warehouse. That's the vibe I was getting off.
Yeah, but I like that, and I like the monsters, and I forgot about all the little hints toward the Timeless Child is mentioned there. So, see, if that was Davies writing it, he would have thrown that word out there and gone, ooh, now I've got to think of something with that. That phrase was interesting. Chibnall is a little, I think he's a little more like, he's the mathematician of them. He may have I've had that in his head the whole time.
I wonder, I know what Chibnall originally envisioned didn't quite pan out for him the way he would have liked, and especially not with something like COVID. But I certainly know he went into it with the Timeless Child as being his initial backbone arc, because you can just tell. But what he also did was say, I'm going to sow this seed in one season, and that's not your arc. That's not your season arc, because there is no season arc. I'm just telling old Doctor Who stories here. That is something that I can pay off at a much later date. And we have to wait until the end of his second season to really get any further clarity or clarification on that, along with the Fugitive of the Judune episode, which is a banger.
Yeah. That is my favorite Jodie episode, I think.
Well, that was the episode that got me into podcasting, so.
Yeah. Was that the first one you came?
No, I didn't even do it with you. I did it with Mrs. McCrimmon on her podcast.
That's right, I remember, because that's when I reached out to you after that. I remember that, because that's the one, I got to do that with Joe on Hamster.
Yes, you did, yeah.
I had a blast talking about that. And
I've done this episode with Joe on Hamster, so.
I'm excited. We're going to talk about some stuff that's coming up when we're done with this, but thinking of the Fugitive Doctor. But I like this one, and I think it holds up on multiple viewings. It is one that you could pop in for comfort and not need anything else.
I think it actually gets better.
I do too. I catch more with it. I got a little ADHD, so sometimes I don't catch things the first time through. And I'm not listening as much. It's a visual medium. You're using your eyes more. That's why I like rewatching. When people say they've only seen their favorite things like once or twice, I'm like, I love watching. There are movies I've seen 100 times. Star Wars. I've probably seen Star Wars 100, 150.
That was going to be my.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna pick one, it's that. And I got weird ones. I've watched Quatermass in the Pit 75 times.
I've lost count of the amount of times I've watched David Lynch's Dune. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna be that way with the new Dune. I feel the itch to watching them back to back when I'm not working one day, because they're just stunning.
I've got some issues with the second one that's kind of put me off them.
Oh, really? Ooh, we'll talk about that
I
later.
don't like what they've done with Paul and Charney, but other than that, they are visual masterpieces.
Yeah.
And
having listened to the first 3 audiobooks on that, I find Paul to be a bit of a shithead, and I really fucking hope he gets it. He's not much better than the people he's replacing.
But Paul is not a.
I need
the June podcast. We'll get Eric Grissom from the old Doctor Who show on, and we'll be sorted.
Good. Yeah,
we'll just talk about June forever and ever and ever.
I need to listen to the next book. My buddy keeps going, you got to listen to the 4th book.
Oh, God Emperor. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, 100%, 100%, because
Yeah.
it does complete a character arc for one
Uh,
of the characters. So,
oh,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, because he says Paul stops being Paul. He told me that Paul's not in everything. It's other people become the driver of the story.
Yes.
Um, and it's such they're so good. I think this one back to Ghostmon. I think this one really works. It is, and it's the perfect order. This, and then Rosa, and then back home for Anacrid's um, in the UK. Of that modern Who model of you do the intro story, you do a science fiction story off world, and then you do a historical, and then you come back. You bring the companions back to where they're from, which
And then,
I'm glad that everybody has done that in Modern Who. I like the fact that they can go home because
yeah.
it doesn't force you to write bad endings.
And it also gives the characters then that agency to make the choice to come with the Doctor, which, because effectively the Doctor in this season has done what the first Doctor did, and that's kidnap his initial set of companions and whisk them away. Not intentionally in Jodie's case, but it's certainly a very similar vibe to that first season where these companions are here unwillingly, but they're not unappreciative as well, I don't want to say Ian and Barbara were unappreciative. Their hands were forced and they were kidnapped victims, and it was some sort of delicious Stockholm syndrome that induced them to stay. And the fact that the Doctor couldn't control the TARDIS. But in Arachnids in the UK, each of them has a reason to then continue with the Doctor. They're not done with the Doctor, and they want more time with her. And I like that. I like that they're actually given that opportunity. Some companions never got that.
Yeah, and I really really like that about this. I love um, I want to talk about the cast is always great. I think these are four really good. I see Tosin Cole's working his ass off in Hollywood. He's in another big movie. He's been full. He was in a comedy, and I went, why do I know? What the hell? Why is Tosin Cole in a comedy with LeBron James? Uh,
Wow.
oh no, yeah, he played some kid that they were supposed to be house sitting LeBron James' house, and they throw a house party in it while he was away. And
Oops.
he's the idiot of the two dudes. Like, hey man, we can just borrow LeBron's house. Really, stupid Hollywood movie. Um, and Graham I have a very soft spot for Graham.
Yes.
One, I love Bradley Bradley Walsh a great deal from because I watched his Law and Order UK where he's just an
Mm.
actor, and I live with a Law and Order junkie. Watches it, and I can sit and watch it. It is what it is. But the UK version, Chibnall did a much better show version of it than the original because it was that the characters had something to do.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's such a good actor. And Graham, there are moments that Graham has, and in Racton where he's basically saying, I don't want to stay at home. I'm grieving. I want some separation from the house I shared with the woman I love, who is now no longer here. So they gave realer emotions, not I'm bored
Yeah.
with my life. I'm a poor shop girl that no one likes. I'm an airline stewardess who's just got a flat tire on the side of the road.
I'll recommend actually. Strictly Come Hamster have just done series 11,
Oh,
and it was a really in-depth look at the series overview, basically, in each
oh,
episode individually, and it was a fantastic listen. And I won't drop any spoilers, but if you like Series 11, then there's a lot to love in that episode. So check that out.
I will have to check that out because I'd like to hear. Because I know, I mean, every era Doctor Who is.
I will give that a word of caution. It is nearly 5 hours long, so put aside some time
Jeez,
for
whoo.
it.
Well, I've used up my audiobook. Spotify lets you listen to audiobooks now, but you can only listen to so many hours of them in a month.
uh,
So I've got to wait. I've got to wait 2 days before I can listen again. I'm listening to The Stand. It's 45 hours.
oh, nice,
It's
nice.
really good. If you can ever find it someplace in that library thing, It's a real. I've listened to it before. The guy's a. It's an early audio book, but he tells the story well, and he does some voices, and he did the different characters, and it's the unabridged. It's every. It's not the. It's not the original, which I think the later version's better, anyways. But this characters. Yaz is a shining star of companions to me. She has the biggest journey of the three of them. And I put her up there in the tops because there is that special bond that you see with Tom and Elizabeth Sladen, with Katie Manning and John Pertwee.
Maureen O'Brien and William Hartnell. I'll just get them in. Of course I will.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing. Let's get back to this. I think the reason this is so loved by you, and why your favorite old Who one basically is The Rescue, I think it's just because they're kind of similar stories. They're very simple, very short.
They go hand in hand together as well. I've recently recorded with Simon Hart for his Library of Impossible Things podcast. The episode isn't out as we're recording now, but it should be out soon.
I'm looking forward to it. I love that show.
Well, I'm on it, so temper your expectations. But funnily enough, we sort of mentioned this, and we talked about this very thing. Both the Ghost Monument and The Rescue are very special to me because they're stories about people finding their family and finding a new family and finding family out of adversity and finding family out of friendship and out of circumstance, really, rather than the family that you have around you all of the time. It's about finding a new home, a new place to be, and a new way to live your life. And that's something I've experienced in my life. Something I had to do for a long time was find a new family out of the people around me, because I'd kind of distanced myself from my own family for multiple reasons. But I think that's part of the magic of why the Ghost Monument and The Rescue hit me so hard, is because it is about people just sharing adversity. We see Graham and Ryan talk a lot about Grace and her passing, to the point that Ryan says you talk about this stuff too much. And that's Graham's way of dealing with it, which is a very modern way of dealing with things. Certainly for men, is actually talking about feelings and emotions and what is affecting you, and how you deal with that as well, and how you learn to live with grief and passing and coping with stuff. I think there's a lot in there that people are starting to see more now, that the initial sort of furore that came up with the casting of Jodie, with Chibnall's taking over the showrunner responsibilities. I think there is a lot of stuff there that now time has passed, people will be able to go back and, without that immediacy, be able to actually enjoy these stories for what they are, which are actually, yes, very simple, very basic stories with a lot of very genuine heart and soul in them.
Yeah.
And that's all I get from the Ghost Monument, is heart and soul.
Yeah.
Especially when we get to the final scenes.
That, like the river, when they're up on that rock, I guess they're on the side of a hill, a very large hill, or a very short mountain. But I love that. It is so cinematic. I love her little moment when she says hello, and she goes, "Oh, I've lost my key," and it pops open. I love it. I love it when the TARDIS. One thing I've liked a little when they do this in Modern Who is where they show you how intelligent the TARDIS is. Yes, the TARDIS can a lot of times she's like, Doctor, just do it on your own. But other times she's like, shit, you're an idiot. Let me let you in.
I think the 13th Doctor has by far the most genuine relationship with the TARDIS as a character than any of the other Doctors, really, other than maybe the first Doctor again, because she talks to the TARDIS in such a intimate and close and heartfelt way.
She leans into it when she talks to it a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like she's
like it's private. It's between them two.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that she runs up to the TARDIS, and the rest don't follow immediately. They give her that time to just be one with the other part of her. We know about it. It's not talked about in the Ghost Monument, but if you're a long-time fan of Doctor Who, you understand the symbiotic relationship between a Time Lord and their TARDIS. Maybe this is growing up with the fan wank of the 80s, but and stories like The Two Doctors, which is the symbiotic nuclei of the Time Lord, is the key to the time travel, and which is all very fan wanky. And Chibnall totally just avoids that, but he keeps the heart of that.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
Yeah. I like TARDIS-related stories. I just think they're done, the ones they do sometimes miss the point. And this one is kind of TARDIS for her. The Doctor, the goal is to get her back to the TARDIS and tell this fun and beautiful adventure story. Do a little character work, and this moment and walk in to the new TARDIS set, and it's great. And I'm glad you brought up the fact that they're not in the shot at the top of the hill. She runs up by themselves. You know, it's three people going, why is there a police box? Two of them are going to go, only one of them's ever going to seen a real police box, probably, Graham.
Except in Sheffield there is still a police box, but it's green, because Yaz mentions that.
That's right.
So they all know what a police box is, which is very interesting, because no one else from the modern era would really have had a clue what a police box is, because they've all been contemporary companions who don't live in Sheffield.
Yeah, I mean, but Graham's old enough to have remembered one, right? He's like my age. Yeah, he would remember him. The only reason people remember him now in your country is because it's in Doctor Who, not because they're police boxes.
I'm sure I remember driving past possibly the Logopolis police box as a kid, and seeing a police box in the wild and being utterly just overwhelmed by it, because I'd known they were a thing, because Doctor Who had told me they were a thing.
Yeah, but you wanted to get out of the car and go see if it was the TARDIS.
Absolutely. And I would have been very, very young, but I started watching Doctor Who very, very young.
No, I think that would have been great. If I had done that, I would have been in the back seat, and my brother would have been going, Dad, we need to, I have a picture of me and Leslie in front of GalaxyCon that comes to Richmond, has a full-size TARDIS.
Oh, nice.
So, and I've been, I went and fiddled with the one at Regen. I think there's probably a few dozen in this country that you can rent out. If I ever won the lottery, I would have someone. I got a buddy who's a set builder and a really master carpenter. I'd go, here are the plans to a British police box. Build it and make it water resistant. It's gonna be a little. Go sit in a hutch. When I want to get out of the house, I'll put a stereo system in it. A lounge chair. So yeah, I love this one. I think there's just so much. It makes me. I did sit and watch most of Rosa last week when I watched this for a rewatch. Because it's Rosa Parks one. But there's that Graham's line at the end when he goes, "I don't want a beer."
Yeah.
That hits me in the gut every time I watch it.
Yeah.
And it's an historical. Now, if they'll just start doing historicals without a monster in them, I will be happy. I just have an adventure in the past.
I mean, I've always been more taken with alien worlds and alien civilizations and alien creatures than the historicals of Doctor Who, because of the time that I grew up, and I was transported into E-space in my first season.
Yeah. So. Well, that's weird. That's what I liked about Davison. At least in his era, he had at least one in the past.
Yeah. And Black Orchid terrified me as a kid.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrified me. Apologies to Brendan from Flight Through Antarctic. But
Is that the one he loves or the one he hates?
it's his least favourite.
Okay. There are issues with it. There are some issues with it.
It does have a lot of classism issues, but that's another discussion.
Yeah. All right. So hey,
we haven't even talked about the guest cast yet.
Oh yeah. That's Sean Dooley, who I love.
Who I'd never seen before the Ghost Monument, and now I see everywhere.
Because he's been around for
yeah.
Art Malik, who I've seen in a bunch of stuff.
Art Malik, I knew. I really love his character in this.
I do too. God, he's been in a bunch of stuff over. A lot of really. Oh man, Jewel in the Crown.
Yeah.
I loved him that we saw.
He's been going for years and years. I grew up with Art Malik being in stuff, so I always recognised him.
And I wanted to talk about Susan Lynch, who I didn't recognize her when I was watching it the first time, but then when I did some stuff, I was like, oh yeah, she is in From Hell and Beautiful Creatures. I've always liked her. There was something else she was in. Waking Ned Devine, and a couple other things, but I hadn't seen her in a long time. But
no, I think the last time I saw her was probably From Hell, because I don't watch a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love From Hell. I really, that was.
The graphic novel is
but
it's far superior.
Yeah, but you can't film the graphic novel.
No, but I wish they bloody had.
Oh, the TV series. I do it, but HBO. Come on,
Johnny Depp does not, nor does Heather Graham, unfortunately. They do not do very convincing British accents. But I guess that turnabout is fair play because I've listened to enough Gallifrey's Most Wanted to know exactly how you feel about Brits doing incredibly pissed American accents.
They're getting better at it because a lot of two of the major stars of Walking Dead are English, and you couldn't tell if you wanted to.
It's
Andrew Lincoln and the black guy. He I like better, who was in Fear the Walking Dead. Played the character Morgan. Yeah, they're really good at it.
Lucy in Fallout 4, she's British as well. Ella Purnell.
Is she?
Yeah.
For a second, I thought she sounds like Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how she learned her American accent, just mimicking the Deschanel sisters.
She's also the voice of Jinx in the Arcane animated series on Netflix, which is well worth a watch. That's really.
I might give that a try because what was it? Foragers. God.
Oh, Scavenger's Reign.
Oh my God, that show was a masterpiece. It was a friggin' masterpiece. God, I'd watch it with my buddy Ken, and every time we'd watch an episode, we'd both go, "What the fuck is going on here, man? I've done drugs, and this is unsettling me."
I mean, I will never advocate for anyone to take drugs, but I would love personally to watch Scavenger's Reign tripping balls. I think that would be amazing.
I think that would be too much for me. There's some scenes, even straight, I was like going, is he inside? Ooh, ooh. So I'm going to run some stuff past you. So it was announced, a couple announcements from Big Finish. They've set dates for the release of the first Fugitive Doctor set, which I'm excited.
Yes, yeah. And the Master set as well, I think. Is it? I know that's coming very soon.
Master Master and then Fugitive, I think.
Yeah.
I've cut back my spending. It's all 60 and 8, and then I'm adding Fugitive. And the other big news, we get the Doctor and Yaz.
I'm so happy. I can't even begin to tell you how much that's reset my enjoyment of Doctor Who again, which is really weird. But just knowing we're getting, was it 12, 16 new Jodie Whittaker adventures?
Something like that. 4 sets of 4 or something like that.
Or is it 4 sets of 3? I think it might be 12.
4 sets of 3.
But just knowing there's new 13th Doctor and Yaz coming, and it's Big Finish, and I listened to the very brief interview with them on the Big Finish podcast. It was actually Melvin recommended it. They sound like they're having an absolute riot.
And that, for them to announce it now, that means they've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah,
they have to. Jodie was really bit one. She had a baby.
Yeah.
And then she did that show about set in the prison.
Oh yeah.
So she's busy.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it that they're coming. And I love the fact that I will always give credit to all the producers, modern producers, have always said leave Big Finish alone, because they could at any time have stopped them.
Oh yeah.
Because it was Moffat was like, no, you don't have to wait for the new years. It was him who gave that release because he was in charge at the time. Use the new characters. We're going to check it, and as long as you don't mess with anything we're saying in a future episode, please. Fans want more. Because I think they also know that there are fans like you who lean more toward classic. And that this gives, and this is a way for I think some classic fans who really prefer the classic style. And Big Finish has its own style now, especially now that it's developed its own style, which is closer to, it's a nice hybrid. Let's just say it's a nice hybrid. But I think there are people who, like, fans of the classic sometimes find a way in on some of the more modern characters through Big Finish, more so than the TV series. Like,
Which has absolutely been my journey.
You like River a bit more in audio than you do.
I did not really enjoy anything River Song related. I liked her first story. I liked the Husbands of River Song. Anything in the middle I kind of could do without. But I've really enjoyed a lot of her stuff in Big Finish, and it has just fleshed out that character for me in a way that the TV series didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't have time to.
Exactly that. Yeah, you're telling very fleeting stories in 45, 50-minute episodes that Big Finish can spend, an hour-long episode, but when you've got 3 or 4 of those and they're just concentrating on one character, you get a lot more depth. It's why Unit, I think, work better in Big Finish.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. And I like the more modern era Unit. And Kate gets more to do, a lot of Osgood, and they've created some really good characters for themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So those are always good. Man, I could listen to the Jacoby Master for hours. There's so much stuff from, I never finished them, but I listened to like the first 10 Jago and Lightfoot's.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're good because I like stories set in that era, and they're basically early 20th century science fiction stories.
Yes.
There's a little H.G., stuff like that. But I think all the modern stuff, I didn't think I would like Eric Roberts as the Master ever. But I've liked him in some of the stuff they've had. I really liked him in the Masterful set because he was so evil in it.
And alternatively, I do hope that maybe classic fans who weren't as sold on Jodie's time at the time will maybe get a new appreciation for her Doctor through Big Finish as well.
Yeah.
I don't like when people say Colin got a redemption arc, Sixth Doctor got a redemption arc thanks to Big Finish, because I'm still firmly of the opinion that he doesn't need one. I love the Sixth Doctor, and I've always loved the Sixth Doctor, and I love the 13th Doctor, and I've always loved the 13th Doctor. But in that same kind of tone, I do hope that more people give her a chance because she's doing Big Finish, and because they like the way Big Finish tells stories, and because they're invested in the Big Finish universe. I think yes, you're going to get a lot of 13 fans drawn into the Big Finish universe as well, where maybe they've been a bit turned off, and that may then lead them to explore other stuff and go, okay, audio Doctor Who hasn't been for me, but it is now. So I hope it's a nice symbiotic relationship between all of the spread of fans that we have, and a general coming together, because Jodie is the Doctor, and she proves that in the Ghost Monument. She proves that time and time again throughout her run. I just wish more people would kind of be open and receptive to her Doctor, whereas I don't think they always have been.
No, and I think there's something about Doctor Who fandom is give it 10 years, and then it becomes, oh, she wasn't, I'm hating the new guy. I don't have the energy to hate her anymore. I'm going to like her. Some of it's even as little as that. And other is that they rewatch it because, I'll just pop it in to see why I didn't like, wait a minute, this isn't as bad as I thought. I didn't catch that, or didn't it? Because one view is and with a new Doctor and a new style and a new showrunner, and with modern social media and the way we know too many, in the old days, it took you a while to get your opinions out there, so you had to formulate your own.
Yes,
And that's kind of, sometimes people are going, well, this person said it was bad. I said, yeah, but did you watch it? No, but they said it was bad. Well, doesn't mean you'll think it's bad. I will tell people I didn't like it on something, unless I really think it's it's a dumpster fire. And I said, I thought that was a dumpster fire, but I've seen some of the things you like, you might like it. Not so much. So they did do a spin-off, and I don't think Jeff, because you don't follow this was released at San Diego Comic-Con a couple weeks ago, that they're going to do From the Land and the Sea. It's a spin-off show. It's Russell Tovey is one of the stars, and the woman who played Martha Jones's sister, who I will butcher her name, and I don't remember it. They are the leads, and Kate will be in it, and some other unit people, and it is a Silurian and Sea Devils invade story. And it's a limited series. So it's probably going to be like 8 episodes or 9 episodes, if that. So I'm excited for it. I like spinoffs. I want them to do more. I want them to do something. Sarah Jane during the early, the early modern era was a huge hit, bigger hit than most people think it was, and it got younger kids in. I wish they were doing something like that, but I like the idea of spinoffs because. But don't do too many. Don't overdo it.
I think its success for me will hinge on its tone. I've never really been interested in Doctor Who spin-offs. I've not seen much of the Sarah Jane Adventures, maybe a couple of episodes. I've never really. I think because she died before I started really watching it, I would find it quite hard to go back and rewatch them now.
I've never watched the ones that aired after her death.
No,
I couldn't do it. I stopped. It would have hurt.
I watched a lot of Torchwood, and its tone just wasn't Doctor Who-y enough for me to think this is a Doctor Who spin-off. It's too.
It was too dark. It was too. I get you. I liked some of it. The third season, I think, is a masterpiece, but it's fucking terrifying. It physically upset me, which was the point. But it was a horror show more than a Doctor Who show.
Not just that. It kind of pushed the "this is for adults" by putting in sex gas things, and it just rubbed me the wrong way from day one, pretty much. And so I've never clicked with Torchwood. So because I missed out on the Sarah Jane Adventures, and because I didn't like Torchwood, I approach any idea of a spin. I didn't watch Class either. I've never even seen the first episode with Peter Capaldi, and I just was not interested. And that's about me as a fan.
It's also not these all of them were very specific to age groups too, and I like that. My buddy Ken, who isn't a big Doctor Who fan, he watched all the class, but it's very much a Buffy show. It's in the Buffy mall, and it's actually pretty good. I mean, it's meant for teenagers, and it's definitely a ripoff of Buffy. It's just it's aliens instead of monsters.
I would prefer, I think, rather than spin-offs, was if Doctor Who did them in situ, in a series. You could have a couple of episodes with... The only time they've ever really done that was Mission to the Unknown, the sort of prelude to the Daleks' master plan, where none of the original cast are there, but it's clearly a story set in the Doctor Who universe, because it's got Daleks. I would prefer something more like that and having a slightly longer season than them budgeting for a whole spin-off that is either going to sink or swim with certain sections of the fan base because of its tone, its style, the story it's telling. If this is clear, and it is, I think it has the advantage of being clearly set in the Doctor Who universe, because we're talking about Sea Devils and Silurians, something from classic Doctor Who and something that is now also familiar to modern fans. I'll check it out when it comes out. It just feels a bit, everyone's doing this now. Every franchise has to have multiple little offshoots. Star Wars has done it. Marvel have done it. Both Disney products. So I don't want to say the Disneyfication of Doctor Who.
But Davies did it in the original run. Davies was definitely... Davies did it. Yeah, so it's a very Russell... This is a Russell thing. But he wants to kind of create a Marvel or Star Wars kind of thing.
I think I shall temper my excitement for the time being until I see more.
Yeah. I like the cast, and if it is an adventure show, if they're treating it as an adventure show, okay, and I don't want it to be an adult adventure show. It could be kiddie-ish, it could be for younger kids, but if this is an all ages adventure show, I'm on board. And I think because Torchwood became divisive because of it was very adult at times. I felt it was uneven, except for the third season, which is only for like 5 episodes. It has a specific arc, and it is a well-done British kind of science fiction story.
That was Children of Earth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very good.
Again. And the Americans, the Stars show they did in America was a bucking dumpster fire.
Yeah, it started with promise and went downhill rapidly, I think. I gave up on it before the end because I just lost interest.
Well, they also created these plot points that they couldn't rectify, and it was like, no one's dying. Let's show you that people are just massively wounded and don't die. And it's like, what the what? It got really bad, and then it had a really kind of, oh crap, we've got 5 minutes left in the season. We got to tie this up. How are we going to kill the big bad? So I just watched it years later to see, just to say I watched it and was just like, missed half of it because it was so bad. I'd zone out and read a comic book. But we'll see what's happening. I'm excited for the big finish with the Fugitive Doctor and the new Master. I got to kind of pre-order those. And I've got the new folks. There's a new Titans started the Shooty, the 15th Doctor comics. I have liked the art in both. I haven't read them, so they've got a new artist, and it's a different style, and it's very different than what they've done, and I'm excited about that. I'll see if it's good. The Titan comics are always readable, but only about 50% of them are really, really good. So I'm hoping that this miniseries is good, because I wasn't a big. They did a Fugitive Doctor one, and I went, that did not need 4 issues. Very little happened over 4 issues, and it could have been one big comic, and it would have been cute and fun, but we'll see. But Titan's doing a good job. I'm excited about that. All right, Jeff. Thank you as always for coming on. I'm going to ask you back now.
Thank you for having me.
The next one I'm doing is, could it be The Rescue?
Well.
So I will be talking to you soon. I hope about
Look
that.
at how that panned out.
Yes, it was perfect. And after that, I will be doing the Time Monsters. Benson in a diaper. Oh no! Wait a minute.
No,
Wheel in
you've got a
Space.
Troughton to go, yeah?
Oh, Wheel in Space. Thank you, God. Before I have to meet, yes. And I have guests lined up for both of those, so I'm excited. Wheel in Space. That's a story I like it one time, and I'm disappointed in the next time. It's kind of.
It's bound to get an animation at some point. It's bound to.
It has one.
I meant an official.
A full one? Isn't there? No, wait. Oh, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It's the only Cyberman story we don't have in one form or another, legitimately. So.
Boo! It is. There is because that's right because on.
They did the opening scene with the servo robot.
Yeah, that one scene. Oh yeah. Well, they've got to be doing another one. They did.
I think there is either a loose cannon or someone did something, and I know they wanted to animate it, and it was something that someone was doing as a fan project. I don't know.
As long as it wasn't that.
I don't know much more about. No.
Because I've liked it. I actually really liked the Celestial Toymaker animated.
You should listen to our review of that on Track One. Yeah. It came out a few weeks ago.
All right, I'll go back and catch that one.
A couple of weeks ago. Check Track One timeline. We had a really good discussion about it. I think it was me, US Jason, Conrad, and forgive me. Was it Pete Lambert? It was very probably Pete Lambert. We had a great chat about it.
I really like that they just went we're going to redo it because and I think it looked okay. Not a different style of animation.
Do you know what? I'd be quite happy for every other Doctor Who story to be animated like that. I don't care.
But having said what I said, I think it's progressed. It is way better because the one for Web of Fear was atrocious.
That they say in the bonus content on Celestial Toymaker how Web of Fear was a massive learning curve for them.
They learned a lot, and they learned from it. I think it's one that I will always watch in color because I love the coloring.
On Celestial.
Yeah, I think it does. I don't think it looks I think they built it for color.
Well, it's interesting actually because the first time I watched it to review the Blu-ray release was I watched it in black and white first because I didn't realise the colour one was on the second disc. So I just put the first disc in and thought, right, I'll go from disc one and work my way through. So the colour one I actually watched with the commentary and the info text on.
Cool.
So I want to go back because normally I always watch them in colour first.
So do I.
But watching it in black and white, I found it really spooky and atmospheric in places, and it kind of worked for me because there's a lot of that big stark white sort of like control room set that the Toymaker has with massive
that's really sterile. Looks unreal.
Yeah. So, but I did notice that your characters really do pop a lot more in colour on that set. They look really nice, yeah. So.
I like how they redesigned stuff, like the puppets look like puppets, the rag dolls. It was fucking
very clever, very clever. And I think I'd happily watch the Daleks' Master Plan animated like this, and that was the one that popped into my mind first because you have those alien delegates, you have the Varga.
No, I think that's a good idea because then you could use like because I liked Fury's animation. I've liked all the animation styles, and I like that they're different ones. I like the Scooby-Doo arm one. I don't care, but I think you could do Marco Polo with not the people who did Fury, but like the people who did Evil of the Daleks. Because I thought Evil of Daleks was...
Yeah. That was really good.
The only one I have... I like them all. Galaxy 4 is odd, but I like it.
I mean, it looks really pretty in like long shots, but there are a lot of long shots, and there's not a lot of what I think that the computer animation has brought is the ability to really pan around your characters in a lot more detail because you've got a 3D character build for each character.
Yeah, so the computer knows it can go behind it.
Yeah, exactly. So you can do nice sort of like turnaround shots around characters and vistas and what have you. So I think there's a lot more options for directorial flair.
Yeah.
That maybe Galaxy 4 didn't really offer.
Oh yeah, what I like about Galaxy 4, they just really did a complete redesign of anything in the alien spaceship, because the alien spaceship was just some tubes and some.
The real spaceship looks ace. Yeah.
So but I want them to do more, man. I haven't watched Underwater Menace yet.
I don't think I have either. I've seen bits of it online and what have you, but I've got it as well. But I'm saving some for my complete rewatch because eventually we're going to get to a point where we can watch 80% of everything. Well, even more than that, 90% of everything ever. And I'm really excited for that. Even if it does mean watching animations, which I know some people love, some people hate.
Well,
I personally love them.
On these sets that they do good reconstructions on them too.
Yes.
The reconstructions are really good on some of them. I watched the Evil of the Dalek one.
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
It was. So
there's something there for everyone. If you want to watch the Telesnap recon or the off-air photo recon
or listen to the old audios, because they'll put the old audiobooks in there. I mean, you got 4 or 5 ways of seeing that. There was one, I think there were 6 ways of watching that story.
Which is nuts. And again, we're in an age of, we've talked about this before, documenting Doctor Who and its history. Even the bits that are lost now is getting documented in the most cohesive and concisive way possible. And there is something there for every single fan's particular way of enjoying a story, whether it exists or not.
Yeah, I just finished watching the season 20 Blu-ray set.
Oh, nice.
Oh, and had another great Matthew Sweet interview. Those are the best. He gets the best interviews out of people. I've got season 15. It's out already. We're getting them quicker after you guys get them, instead of 6 months after. It was 3 months after, which is better than. But I'm hoping season 25 is next.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm hoping another early season or.
Well, the next most logical early season to come out is probably season 6, because that is majoritively complete. And I also think the animation style from the Celestial Toymakers would work really well with the Space Pirates.
Yeah, they would.
So,
because you don't have anything. They would have to do it all from their own imagination.
Space Pirates is the least apart from maybe the Abominable Snowman was the least represented Doctor Who story in any kind of format other than the recordings. We don't know what certain characters from the Space Pirates look like.
Yeah, you're gonna have
which
to
is
look
nuts.
You're gonna have to look up an actor, and hopefully you've got a 60-year-old equity headshot.
Yeah.
So weird. All right, Jeff, again, thank you. I will talk to you soon about Vicky's first adventure, and we will both gush, because it is I love Maureen O'Brien. Every time I go through the first Doctor stories, I fall more and more in love with almost every character.
Yeah,
it's such a great era. All right, folks, thank you, and as always, we look forward to seeing you somewhere in time or space.